Hail and welcome to Hellbound Testimonies, the show where I talk to fellow Satanists, listen to their story, and find out more about what they believe. Just as a reminder, neither myself nor my guest is here as a representative or spokesperson for the Satanic Temple. What we discuss here are our own personal stories and perspectives on Satanism. I'm Reverend Odinson, an ordained minister of Satan, and here to testify with me today is Jynx. Hey, thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
hmm So I have a list of questions here that I'm going to use to kind of probe your thoughts and beliefs and that sort of thing. But
Mhm.
before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. I don't know where to start. Like to think I'm a pretty average Joe kind of person. Like, I just recently came across TST within the last couple of years, so I'm relatively new and I'm still learning, but um, I'm getting there. I'm just trying to make my way through life a little bit, by the like best way I can. Um, I don't really know how to describe myself. I think I'm a pretty average person, you know what I mean?
That's fine. That's what life is all about, right? I mean, we just kind of explore our way through it.
Yeah. I got a
Yeah.
big passion for music. I like video games. I guess those are some things about me, I suppose.
Oh, you play music. So is it? Do you actually play? Do you sing?
Well, I like to sing. That doesn't mean
Mhm.
I'm good at it. Um, um, I
Fair.
I grew up I grew up in band playing instruments. I don't play actively now or anything, but I like to think of myself as a mixed bag of like traditional concert band instruments. I don't play anything cool like the guitar, but I would love to. I've been trying to learn. My partner's been teaching me a little bit, so I'm trying, but it's hard to pick up, but I'm getting there.
Cool. Cool. So were you ever part of a theistic religion?
I was. So, I grew up, well, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but my mother grew up in a kind of a culty section of I don't even know what they were, but she was a member of the Worldwide Church of God, which was basically a branch of Christianity that was literally based off of a dude and his radio TV show, or his radio show, sorry, and they believed in a lot of all kinds of stuff that is really even kind of pushing the limits for um Christianity in itself, and a lot of that affected a lot of the way that I was raised and the way that I was treated, and because I was born to uh, teenage parents, and that
That's
was,
hard.
yeah, hard for me and hard for them too, but like I got outcast and shunned by a good chunk of my family and kind of treated like I was like the spawn of Satan because I was born to, like unwed teenage parents, and um I spent a lot of my childhood from at least half of my family just being treated like I didn't exist or that I shouldn't exist. And I have, sorry, go ahead.
No, no,
Yeah,
I'm just
what was
reacting to your
worrying.
story. That's a rough upbringing.
Yeah, so I had a lot of resentment, when I was a kid and didn't have a great relationship with a lot of my extended family because of that.
So I mean, is this what you went through? Is that what deconverted you?
So not necessarily. Well, when my parents, were done with school, because I was partially raised by, some of my extended family that did take me in and accept me, because I was born to teenage parents. Uh, when they finally moved in together and moved away from where the rest of my family was when I was maybe around kindergarten age, we all just kind of stopped going to church altogether, and they kind of just let everything kind of fall by the wayside. And I kind of grew up in a relatively like atheistic home.
Okay.
Um, but I, when I was a teenager, I started going through a lot of like really bad, like mental health issues, where I was really lost and didn't know what to, who to go to, what to believe in, like where to lean, just being a teenager into like teen parents too. They didn't really know how the best way to help me was. So I started turning to my faith because my grandparents that did still accept me and love me were still very religious themselves. And I started going to church again and I started finding solace in it, but never really like believed until um, I went to church camp one summer and they're having this whole like event of like people trying to just like give themselves over and pray and whatever. And like I was supposed to have this like spiritual awakening, that was expected of
Yeah.
me to happen at this event. And it never came. I never felt that, that enlightenment or that,
You didn't have
uh,
that religious experience, you know.
right. And it didn't, that was kind of where I fell out again. And then I kind of, since then, have been living the rest of my life as an atheist up until a couple years ago.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. So,
so,
so are you like an out Satanist? Does your family know?
some of them I've brought up the concept to, but haven't really like explicitly told them. And I've like shared things on social media, and I think they might have some kind of inkling, but I haven't like explicitly sat them down and told them and said, "Hey, I'm a Satanist," because I
Right.
don't know what the exact reaction I'm gonna get from that is, especially certain people. So it's not like I've like sat them down and come out, but I'm also like not hiding it either.
I get that. You're kind of in that between stage where you're not ready to have that fight necessarily, but
Right,
yeah, you're not exactly hiding who you are either.
right.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to cause, I feel like really saying it and being out and proud and loud about it would cause more harm than it would good. And I don't want to, lose those connections with those family members that I love so much. So, like, I'm just kind of keeping it on the down low. Like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not hiding it, but I'm not
Yeah.
like blaring it to the world either.
Well, I mean, just coming out as an atheist can be difficult. My mother and I had
Right.
quite the difficult conversation. I mean, she accepts me and everything, even as a Satanist
Hmm.
now. But you can tell that it's difficult for her, you know?
Hmm.
So just coming out as an atheist can be hard enough in a religious family. Coming out as a Satanist can be that's a whole nother ball game, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. To my friends, I feel like that I feel comfortable with. I'm definitely, they're all very supportive. My partner is very supportive. He was actually considering becoming like an official member himself, although he has his own beliefs and like organized religion and stuff. So like
Hmm.
he wholeheartedly believes in everything the Satanic Temple does and believes in as much as I do. He just doesn't want to make that commitment, I guess, if that makes sense.
I mean, that's fair. A lot
To
of us,
subscribing.
yeah, a lot of us come out of, religious trauma and don't want to trust another organized religion, you know.
Hmm.
It's a little it takes a little bit of trust building to get there.
Right, right.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, my wife is a little bit the same way. She was a little more hesitant to get involved than I was. So when did you first become aware that modern Satanism as you know now, right, was a thing? Because I'm sure
Uh-huh.
you were aware of it in, like movie versions of Satanism.
Hmm.
But when
Sure.
did you like when did this kind of Satanism first like kind of come into your radar?
So I want to say maybe about um 8 years ago or so, I was having a really, really rough day at work, and one of my coworkers that I got along with really well just was hanging out with me after my shift was over, and we were just chatting about a bunch of stuff, and like he, after talking some like basic like principles that we like believed in, and we worked in the service industry, and like that can be hard to show, like compassion and empathy towards people when they're being a butt to you, you know. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
for sure.
so there are a couple of things that came up like that, and he has one of those official membership cards, and he pulled it out of his wallet and he showed it to me, and he's like, "Hey, so I'm a member of the Satanic Temple, and it has the list of all the tenets on the back of it."
Hmm.
And I read through it and I was like, this sounds absolutely perfect. Like, when can I sign up? And I never like really looked into it, but that was when I first became aware of like the Satanic Temple, like period in general, but never really like followed through in looking into it any more
Right.
than him just telling
Okay.
me about it.
So how long would you say that you've been a Satanist now?
Um, let's see. I want to say maybe like 3 years or so.
Hmm.
2 years maybe. I don't remember when I first officially joined the congregation. But I have been working on my recovery for a really long time, and I um dealt a lot with, that non-secular like AA, may God, blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
being forced down my throat and trying to get sober. That I was looking for something that was, non-religious and a path to recovery. And I actually found the sober faction and hopped into one of those meetings. And then I don't know, ever since then, I think I've considered myself a Satanist since that first day. After attending a bunch of the sober factions recovery meetings online, I started looking into TST more as a whole, and then after some time, like actually becoming a congregation member, and it's been about 2 years now, I want to say, but I don't exactly remember the date.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, for those watching that don't know, pretty much every 12-step program or sobriety program that exists, Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff like that, one of the big core, I guess you can call them tenets, is that you have to submit to some kind of a higher power. All of
Hmm.
them push. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, Christianity, but they all push some kind of, submit to some kind of a, God. So, the sober faction, they offer a non-theistic, sobriety program. And no, that's I can see how that would bring you into Satanism. You finally
Yeah.
find a place where you can, deal with things in a nice thing is too is, sober faction. It's a science-based approach to
Hmm.
sobriety rather than a faith-based approach. Um, so you've left, organ I should say, your Abrahamic religion.
Hmm.
You come to Satanism through sober faction. Do you
Hmm.
still have any belief in any sort of, supernatural?
I don't. I mean, n I don't think so, but, I mean, I'm not going to deny that there could potentially be a possibility out there that we
Hmm.
just can't prove, but I don't personally believe in anything, but I wholeheartedly believe in everybody should have the right to believe in something, and, like, I
Hmm.
like to keep my mind open. I'm not, like, gonna deny any kind of, um, supernatural, like, things from happening, like, because they could, but they could not, like, I don't really know,
Got it.
so I can't say for sure, like, I know that, like, we like to say that we should, you know, um, uh, just believe in things that can be backed up by science,
Hmm.
but long time ago, like before we knew how a lot of science worked, things were considered magic, you know what I mean? So like I just like to keep my mind open to the potential possibility of something, like being
Hmm.
explained somehow that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can get what you're saying. So how would you describe Satanism in general to someone outside of Satanism? Like, what is Satanism to you?
Um, I like to think of Satanism as being just really just people being people and treating humans as humans and like being kind to each other and like holding science as fact and you know not having to hold things that are so like mystifying, you know what I mean, to
Hmm.
always be exploring, and thinking and like using our brains to figure stuff out, and it to be like a very kind of like humanistic kind of way to live my life, and it makes me feel
Hmm.
good knowing that I'm treating a human as a human and uh,
Yeah, yeah.
something along those lines.
So it sounds like to you it's very much a form of more organized humanism.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose you could put it like that. Yeah,
yeah. I like that. That's a cool description. Um,
thank you.
how does Satanism affect your everyday life?
Um, well, like I said, I'm not like super out and loud and proud about it, or like I'm
Hmm.
not to say that. Sorry, I misspoke. Not to say that I'm out and boisterous about it. I am proud to be a Satanist. But um, each and every one of the tenets kind of represents a little bit of like how I was like already living my life,
Hmm.
and it's not like I really had to change anything about who I was or how I was acting or how I was living my life. It just seemed like a perfect fit, like a glove from, the way I
It's just kind of putting
go
what you
about.
already believed into more eloquent words.
Right, exactly. Because 'cause I'm, like, stumbling over them now. I'm not great with words, so
That's
yeah,
fine.
that's a great description.
So do you wear any satanic imagery when like outside the home or whatever?
I would if I had any. I'm kind of in a rough financial situation right now, so I don't have the financial means to be buying, like, tons of merch and stuff, but if I
Yeah.
did, I definitely would. But I mean, does this pentagram on my chest count as a bit of Satanism?
I think it's a little bit of Satanism. That's I
I
dig it.
mean,
I dig it. I mean,
it's
I know where
a
it
it's
comes from,
a
but I still dig it.
yes, I know it's like a cultural reference to a TV show, but yeah, it's still a big old pentagram that I got permanent on my chest. I guess I wear that with pride.
So what are your thoughts on the more esoteric side of Satanism? We're talking like meditation, mindfulness, rituals. that kind of thing.
Um, Before I found, like started really digging into like Satanism, like I said, after I first found Sober Faction, or before I found Sober Faction, I had found Recovery Dharma, and that is a recovery program based in Buddhism. And that helped me develop a little bit of like a meditation regimen. And I don't do it for, any kind of like spiritual um, purposes or anything. It's a way for me to, help my mind cope and, relax. And like,
Oh
I've
yeah.
struggled with my mental health a lot, so like, I need to do things along those lines in order to, just ease my mind a little bit, and uh, just helps me control my own emotions, and
Hmm.
to take a step back and think about things a little bit gives me peace. And I do meditate every once in a while, and I'm not like a practicing Buddhist or anything, but I think they do have some good points about how they're also very like, what's the word I'm looking for? Humanitarian or
Hmm.
humanistic, where like, it's just treat people how you want to be treated and stuff like that. Be kind, pass along good things to others, and, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So,
Sometimes sometimes the meditation itself isn't even necessarily, I find, isn't even necessarily the thing that helps the most. It's the fact that you are making a conscious effort to, in the heat of like some kind of extreme emotion, to stop, take a step back, take a moment to
mhm,
center yourself, and like the meditation helps calm you and stuff. But just the fact that you're
yeah,
not making some kind of rash decision in the moment, because
mhm,
you are like psychologically keying yourself up to meditate and think more deeply on a subject, I find can be incredibly helpful.
yeah, I totally agree with you.
uh, so what are your thoughts on the more sort of activist side of Satanism, because that's definitely inescapable, right?
Um, right. Yeah, definitely. I have not been like, I'm not one to protest, and I'm all for, all the activism and, you know, uh, the what's the word I'm looking for? The religious freedom and um, equal representation in, for example, public places and in schools and stuff like that. Like, I'm not an active participant in it, but I wholeheartedly believe that it's very important and a big part of like what TST believes in it as a whole is to
Mhm.
have equal rights for everyone.
Awesome. So it sounds like um you find yourself more when we when we talk about participation and
Mhm.
actively being an active Satanist. It sounds like you're more on the esoteric sort of side of things.
Right. Yeah, I tend to like, I believe in it. I believe I stand for it. Like,
Hmm.
I think it's very important. I just have not been like an active participant in it.
Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair. Do you have a favored tenant?
Um, I think I don't know if I do, to be completely honest. Um, I think oh, see, now I'm being a bad Satanist right now because I can't remember which tenant is which. That one should strive to act with empathy and compassion in all things and
Oh, the first
according to
tenant, yeah.
reason. Is that one? Okay.
Hmm.
Um, I think that is like a good like guiding principle for all of us to have.
Hmm.
To just treat other people like humans and to treat everybody with equality is something that I wholeheartedly believe in and I think is really, really important. That is like really fundamental, that helps shape um, just the rest of the tenets that follow after that.
Awesome. Yeah. Here's one of my favorite questions that I love asking
Hmm.
the people who come on here, and that is when I invoke the name of Lucifer or Satan, what does that mean to you?
What did it mean to me, or what does it mean to
What
me
does it mean
now?
now?
Um, it's literally just a metaphor specifically referring to the Christian religion as someone who is, I guess, a fighter for um the y- the ability to protest, to stand up for themselves, to have their own rights, and to believe in what they want to believe in, regardless of whether they're going to get punished or shunned for it, and not being afraid to stand up for themselves and for others that also believe in the things that they believe in, and to be a fighter against, arbitrary authority. And it's really just a metaphor for, those types of thoughts and like things that we believe in. There is no real Satan, but
Hmm. Yeah.
um, it's just it's a good analogy or symbolism, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could call him, a symbol, a figurehead,
Hmm.
sort of a literary figure.
Hmm.
So, do you have a favorite, maybe a book or another piece of media that you think of as, Satanist, even if it wasn't written by a Satanist or about Satanism, but something that captures Satanism for you?
Um, I really can't think of anything off the top of my head besides like literally things that are tied directly to Satanism.
Hmm.
Um, you know, um, there's a book that I just started reading called The Little Book of Satanism. I've watched the movie Hail Satan more than I can count on like two hands, and we just watched another movie recently about, like the Satanic Panic called The Devil Wants You. That was great. Those are just things that come to mind, really. I can't think of anything else that really embodies that, although I haven't been reading a ton lately, which is something I need to start doing again.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to keep up with sometimes in regular life, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, if you could sort of, snap your fingers and magically
Mhm.
educate the outside world about one thing that as it pertains to Satanism, like if there was one misconception you could clear up or one
Mhm.
thing you could inform the public that, of what Satanism is, what would that be?
Um, there is no like ritual blood sacrifices, and we're not like murdering children, and eating babies and, killing animals on an altar, like all of that like satanic panic stuff that kind of demonized everything. I wish that could all just go away, you know.
And
But
as silly as it sounds, there are still a lot of people who believe that's happening.
mm,
Yeah.
I've gotten some pretty crazy reactions to people reacting and saying, "Oh, you're a what? What is your you believe in what religion?" And it just,
Uh-huh.
and then I started to talk to them about it, and they're like, "Oh, well, that sounds nice. That doesn't sound so bad. I could get into that, so."
Hmm. Yeah, fair enough. So, where do you see this religious movement moving in the future, and where would you like to see it go?
Um, well, I would like to see it more I don't know how to say where I predict things going because lots of things have happened in our recent reality, that we haven't expected to happen. And like the future is always an unknown,
Yeah,
like I feel like Murphy's always like right around the corner, like um
both
with
personally and
regard
society, I feel that. Yeah.
um so how I would like to see it going though is for it to be more just even if like our numbers in memberships don't rise. I would like to see it just be more widely talked about in a neutral or positive light, and for it to not be demonized so much, and for it to be more accepted and to be like equally represented, just as all other religions are all over the world.
Fair enough. So do you have anything before we wrap this up that you would like to plug? Maybe some projects that you or your friends have going on, or yourself, or maybe some reading material you want to recommend to people, anything like that.
I just really want to mention, I would love to throw in another just mention of the sober faction, to anybody that's struggling with substance use, process addictions, anything like that, regardless of where you are in your recovery, and want a non-theistic approach to, you know, being able to heal yourself and get through recovery and just it's a very welcoming and accepting environment regardless of whether you're a member of TST or not, and they're doing wonderful things. Um I can't speak highly enough about them. They're
Yeah.
doing great stuff.
No, that's a great shout out. I'll make sure to put a link. I'll edit the description, make sure I put a link to the sober faction in the description of this video. And speaking of which, I don't have a Patreon or anything like that. So if you find these sort of talks, useful to you, or you're enjoying them and you want to contribute, instead of contributing to me, I have links to some great charities that you can donate to instead in the description of this video. So go ahead and do that. And I thank you, audience, for giving us some of your valuable time. And Jinx, thank you for doing this. This was really great. You have a really compelling story. You really do.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It was lovely being here to talk to you.
Yeah. So until next time, hail Satan, hail
You're
yourself,
Satan.
and take care of yourselves.